we are more divided than ever on just about any issue. It's been said over and over again. Everything from marriage to spirituality to education to sexuality, you name it. And it's time to start to heal some of these wounds because our rigid beliefs are blocking our vision and they are disconnecting us from source. And I know how much you believe in whatever side you are on. I know it. And I know how important it feels for you, for what you view as right to be the thing that plays out in the world. In Hermetic philosophy, there's what's called the law of polarity, and it tells us that there is two sides to every energy. And there's another law called the law of correspondence, as above, so below. So if that's the case, if there's two sides to every energy, there's also two sides to every situation. There's two sides to every argument. But the thing is that both of those sides are illusion. Neither of them are the whole truth. That's why they're on a side. Your life experience is not my life experience. And so we see the world differently because of that. You might not have grown up in Boston. You might not have grown up with addicted parents. You might not have come into an addiction yourself. You might not have served in the military. You might not have had a business. And I might not have had whatever life experience you had. However, beneath all of that life experience, we have the exact same animating principle at our core. That awareness that is below all of those experiences is exactly the same. And the reason that I am how I am, which is different from how you are, is because of my life experience versus your life experience. If I had your life experience, I would be you. And if you had my life experience, you would be me. So how do we open to the possibility that we are not seeing the whole picture? Because anytime we dig in and we have a deep-seated opinion, we're not seeing the whole picture. Intolerance comes because we cannot handle our own energy. It always goes back to what's happening inside. You are not intolerant. I am not intolerant because of what somebody else is doing. I'm intolerant because I can't handle the juice that shows up inside of me when that other person does something that I disagree with. And when that happens, our emotional body hijacks or takes over our entire awareness. And we become totally and completely identified with that emotion. So when I'm angry, all I can feel is that rage. All I can feel is that fire. And I believe that I am it. And I believe that whatever I'm angry about is the God's honest truth. And when that happens, we lose our ability to see the full picture. We think that the emotion is true because it feels so real inside of our body, but it's not actually true. Because your emotions are intimately tied to what has been happening to you throughout the course of a day, for example. And the way that you can highlight this is think about a situation in your life that has triggered you on a certain day and not triggered you on another day. The exact same thing happened. But one time you tailspin out of control and the other time you let it just wash past you. That starts to show us that this emotion is not 100% the truth. It's a conditioned response. Something got triggered inside of us. And our opinions and our judgments become truth when the emotion feels so real that we can only identify with it. And so what happens is we choose to see only that which we want to see. We choose to see only that which reinforces the emotion because, again, I believe I'm it. And anything that is counter to that emotion takes away my sense of self. In other words, brings me to a fear of instability. Social media isn't helping this, choosing to see only what we want to see, right? These echo chambers make it so much easier to only take in half of an argument. Or even if you have a feed set up to where you're able to see both sides, oftentimes both sides are only sharing the pieces of the argument that leaves out the other part. The thing is that there is always evidence for both sides of an argument. And look at any scientific study that is out there, and then you will absolutely be able to find another one that tells you the exact opposite. So we've got eating fat in your diet is going to lead to high cholesterol and heart disease. And then we've got another one that says, no, it's actually sugar and processed carbohydrate that's leading to those things. Intermittent fasting is good for us. No, it actually causes your energy to go all over the place. And this is the case over and over and over again. There's always evidence for both. And on a deep level, fear is driving our choice to pick one side or the other. Fear drives us to form an opinion because we need mental certainty at the shadow frequency. Without certainty, we feel unstable. But it's impossible to create stability with the mind. And that's exactly where we're seeking it. We're trying to find stability by having a solid place to land with our thoughts. But nothing about thought is solid. It's impossible to create that stability. Only the body knows safety and stability. Fear has nothing to do with the external world, right? That's what you're telling yourself. That if my side doesn't win, the world is going to fall apart and I'm going to get hurt. Or somebody I love or care about is going to get hurt. Or a population that I love or care about is going to get hurt. That's the story that runs in our mind. But it's not the external world. We have this deep-seated unease that lives inside of us. Every single human. And if you don't believe me, just sit still and be quiet for 5 minutes. You won't even need the full 5 minutes. You will start to feel this anxiety, this discomfort, this unsettled feeling. And that's what is called the sacred wound. And it comes from this sense of separation. It's part and parcel to being on earth. However, most of us are unaware that that lives there all the time. And so we project it out onto different people or different situations. And then we look for flaws in those things that we're projecting it out onto. So that discomfort, that unease that we feel goes out into the world, and then we're just with eagle eyes looking for what don't I agree with? Where can I put my focus to put this feeling somewhere that's not inside of me? And those flaws, we look for them based on comparison. This is better than that. So I identify with this. And then we start to build a worldview around it. And that's when we really get into trouble. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion. That's not what I'm saying here. You just have to learn how to hold the whole instead of only looking at certain parts as you hold that opinion. In other words, you have to be able to see the other side of the argument, even if you disagree. And the way that we do that is by remembering that that person is on the other side of the argument because of their life experience. And if you had the same life experience, you too would be on the other side of the argument. The problem with opinion comes with dogma, and it comes when it gets locked in. Because at that point, you develop an inability to be present with what is in this moment. And then everything becomes so dead serious because we are so identified with that worldview. And we need other people to see it our way. We need that way to be the way that ends up winning. Who would you be without that worldview? The ego worries that you wouldn't exist without it because you're so identified with it that if it goes away, you go away. And that's why you feel such an intense connection to your side. Because without it, what would you be? And when you realize you're not your thoughts, you're not your opinions, you're not your emotions, it starts to open us up and we can let go and we can take a breath and we can understand. We have opinions so that we can stay in integrity with ourselves, not to change anyone else's mind. We have opinions because we know as humans what is right and what is wrong on a deep, deep level. But what's happening out in the world, that's just the playing out of karma and its mechanics. So we hold opinions so that we connect more deeply with the whole and what's true and right for us. You're not going to change anyone else's mind. It's better to just live your opinion. Let other people see what happens when you live your opinion. And ultimately, where this leaves us is with an ability to return non-love with love. That's the whole game. Can I, regardless of what happens, hold a frequency of care and forgiveness? And in order to do that, we've got to release the need to be right. We've got to release the need to get someone to see it our way. Why? What's it matter if somebody else thinks you're right? You think you're right. The other person thinks they're right. Let the universe figure it out. There's no point in battling and fighting. Just be there for each other. Talk about it, sure. But with love. And when you do talk about it, learn to listen with your whole body, not your intellect. If you're listening with your intellect, you're listening through the lens of your opinion. You've got to learn how to listen to the whole. Listen to the acoustics, listen to the energy, listen to the space between the words. And when you do that, you'll pick up on the subtle nature of what the other person is trying to express, that words cannot carry. Words are just signposts that point to an energy. And the energy gets corrupted when we put it into words. And I think that's probably a big part of why this disagreement is happening. And lastly, to return non-love with love, we've got to integrate the left brain and the right brain. We've got to learn the right brain approach of seeing the whole. That's why the right brain is so creative, because it sees the whole picture, whereas the left brain is focused on the parts and it gets locked in. So reconnecting to creativity, reconnecting to the feminine, to openness. We can heal this division. And the way that we heal it is by seeing both sides. By seeing that we all want the same things. We just have a different way of getting there. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Until next time.